I'm 27 now, but this happened 3 years ago, on New Year's Eve of 2021. At the time, I was living in Rio and working as a graphic designer for a small agency. I wasn't really a party person, but that year I decided to go to a friend's house in Barra to celebrate the Réveillon. I remember feeling strangely hopeful that night. After 2 years of isolation, it felt good to be around people again. Nothing about that night felt unusual at first. Just laughter, champagne, and the sound of fireworks warming up in the distance. The party started around 9. It was one of those rooftop gatherings, string lights, cheap Prosecco, and way too many people trying to take pictures with sparklers. I didn't know most of them. They were friends of friends. I spent most of the night leaning on the railing, watching the city glow below. Around 11:30, I went downstairs to grab another drink. The apartment was quiet compared to the roof, just muffled music and someone's perfume lingering in the hallway. That's when I noticed him, a tall guy standing by the host's bookshelf, flipping through vinyl records. He looked older, maybe mid-30s, wearing a light shirt, no drink in his hand. I assumed he was one of Lucas's friends and smiled politely as I passed. He didn't smile back. He just watched me go. Midnight hit, fireworks burst across the beach, and everyone rushed to the rooftop to toast. I couldn't find the tall guy up there, but I didn't think much of it. The countdown, the cheers, the obligatory selfies, it all blurred together. Around 12:30, people started leaving. I helped Lucas gather cups and bottles while the music faded into soft background noise. When I went back downstairs to grab my jacket, I froze. The man was sitting on the living room couch, lights off except for the glow from the street. He wasn't talking to anyone, just staring at the floor. I cleared my throat. "Hey, everyone's upstairs. You okay?" He looked up slowly, eyes unfocused, then smiled faintly. "Yeah, I just needed some air." I nodded and left it at that, but something about his tone felt wrong. By 1:30, the party was dying. I ordered a car and said my goodbyes. Lucas was cleaning up, and I remember asking him quietly, "Hey, who's that guy on your couch?" He frowned. "What guy?" I gestured downstairs, but when we looked, the living room was empty. Lucas just shrugged. "Probably one of João's friends. Don't worry about it." Outside, the street was nearly empty except for the sound of distant fireworks. My ride was still a few minutes away, so I waited near the entrance, scrolling through my phone. That's when I saw movement in the reflection of the glass door. The tall man, standing halfway down the hallway, watching me from inside the building. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stood there, hands in his pockets, head tilted slightly. I stepped outside and tried to act normal, heart hammering. The doorman wasn't there. Everyone was probably distracted by the celebrations. I pretended to check my phone again, but when I looked up, he was gone. I didn't even hear a door close. My car arrived and I climbed in fast. We just started moving when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No message, just a missed call. I ignored it. A minute later, another call from the same number. The driver glanced at me. "Tudo bem?" I nodded, uneasy. Then came the text. "You left early." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. I turned off my phone and told the driver to take a longer route home. When we stopped at a light, I glanced behind us. About half a block back, a man was walking down the sidewalk. Same build, same light shirt, no phone in his hand, no jacket, just walking steadily in our direction. I asked the driver to speed up, pretending to sound casual. He didn't ask questions. We lost sight of the man within a few blocks, but I didn't breathe normally again until we pulled up to my building. I went straight to my apartment and locked everything. The number never texted again, but I kept checking for weeks. When I finally told Lucas, he swore no one at the party matched that description, and said only people he personally invited had access to the building. The doorman confirmed the same. No record of anyone fitting that man's look or name. I thought about going to the police, but what could I say? A stranger stared at me and texted once. They wouldn't have cared. So I tried to move on. But I started sleeping with my phone in airplane mode and my curtains closed. It's been 3 years, and I still avoid New Year's parties. Last week, out of curiosity, I unblocked unknown numbers and scrolled through old messages. At the very bottom was one I swear wasn't there before. Sent at exactly 0000, January 1st, 2022. Did you make a wish?
I was 25 when this happened, spending New Year's Eve of 2022 at a rented beach house in Angra dos Reis with 6 friends from college. We were all tired of big parties, so we chose something quieter: music, drinks, and the ocean breeze. I'd been working remotely as a junior architect then, introverted, but happy to be around familiar faces for a change. The night began calm and bright, the bay shimmering with scattered fireworks from nearby islands. The house sat on a small hill facing the water. From the deck, you could see another house across the bay, larger, but completely dark. Around 10 p.m., we were eating grilled fish, laughing at old stories, when my friend Beatrice pointed to it. Creepy, isn't it? No lights, no sound, and it's been like that all week. We joked that it looked like a horror movie setup. Later, while everyone danced near the pool, I stepped aside to smoke and take pictures of the reflection on the water. That's when I noticed a faint, flickering light coming from one of the windows of the dark house, like someone had just lit a candle. I told Beatrice, but when we looked again, the window was black. She laughed it off, saying maybe it was a phone flashlight. Still, something about it felt off. Around midnight, when the fireworks exploded over the bay, I glanced toward the house again. This time, I could clearly see a figure standing on the balcony. I squinted, trying to make sense of it. Whoever it was didn't move, didn't wave, just stood facing our direction as the sky burst with color. I pointed it out, but everyone was too busy celebrating to care. After midnight, we kept drinking and talking by the pool. Around 2 a.m., most people had gone to bed. I stayed outside to clean up, stacking bottles and plates. That's when I noticed movement again. Across the bay, the same balcony, the faint outline of someone pacing slowly. I turned off the lights on our deck, trying to see better. Then I realized the light wasn't flickering anymore. It was moving. A small flashlight, aimed directly toward our house, sweeping left to right like a slow search. I called out softly, "Bee?" But she was asleep inside. My stomach tightened. I grabbed my phone and took a photo, but all that came out was darkness and noise. When I looked up again, the light had disappeared. I tried to shake it off and went inside, locking the sliding doors. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to faint tapping sounds, rhythmic, against glass. I sat up, confused, and realized it was coming from the living room. Carefully, I got up and peeked through the hallway. Someone was outside on the deck. They weren't knocking exactly, more like dragging their fingers across the glass, slowly. I froze, heart pounding. The silhouette was tall, backlit faintly by the moon. I whispered for my friends, but no one stirred. Then the person leaned closer. Through the reflection, I saw the outline of a white mask, smooth, featureless. I ran to wake Beatrice, and when we both looked again, the deck was empty. Only the sliding door had smudged streaks, like fingertips dragged along the glass. We barely slept. In the morning, we found faint footprints near the pool steps. Muddy, barefoot, leading back toward the path that went down to the beach. We called the caretaker, who came by and said the house across the bay had been abandoned for years after a fire. "Nobody stays there," he said. "No one's even supposed to have access." We left that same afternoon. I kept checking the photos on my phone, hoping I'd captured something. But all I got was a single blurry shot of the water, and what looked like a faint light reflection in the distance. It's been over 2 years, and I still go cold thinking about it. Last month, out of curiosity, I searched the address of that house on Google Maps. There was a new listing, restored, modern, beautiful. But in one of the real estate photos, through the clean glass balcony, I swear I could see a faint white face reflected in the window, staring toward the bay.
I was 29 when it happened, spending New Year's Eve of 2020 at my aunt's countryside house near Petropolis. I'd just gone through a breakup, so my family insisted I join them for a quiet celebration away from the city. I remember the smell of barbecue smoke, the sound of frogs by the lake, and the soft buzz of conversation. It felt peaceful until it didn't. That night started like any other family gathering. Calm, predictable, safe. By 10 p.m., we were sitting around a wooden table outside, laughing, drinking beer, and swatting mosquitoes. My cousin Sophia was setting off small fireworks with the kids near the gate at the end of the property. Beyond that gate was nothing but trees and a dirt road that led down to the main highway. I walked over to help her collect the spent fireworks. The night was warm, but the air near the gate felt oddly cold. I joked about ghosts, and she laughed, tossing an empty sparkler into a bucket. Everything was perfectly normal, or at least it seemed that way. Around 11:30, I went to the front of the house to check my phone signal. That's when I noticed someone standing just outside the gate. A man, half hidden by the shadows of the trees. He wasn't moving, just staring toward the house. At first, I thought it was a neighbor or maybe a lost hiker. I called out, "Oi, to the bem," but got no response. When I blinked, he stepped back slightly, disappearing into the dark. I told myself I'd imagined it. Still, I locked the gate before heading back to the others. Midnight came. Fireworks echoed through the valley, lighting up the trees in flashes of gold. We all cheered, hugged, toasted. Typical family chaos. But as the noise faded, I caught something out of the corner of my eye, a flicker of movement near the gate again. The man was back. He was closer this time, his hand gripping the bars. Even from that distance, I could tell he was staring directly at me. I whispered to my uncle, who went to check, but when we got there, the road was empty. Just the faint crunch of gravel fading into the woods. We all laughed nervously, blaming it on my city paranoia. But deep down, I knew I hadn't imagined him. Around 2 a.m., everyone went to bed. I stayed up to finish my drink on the porch, trying to shake the unease. The only light came from the string bulbs hanging above the table and the faint glow from the moon. That's when I heard it, a slow, dragging sound against metal. The gate. I froze. The latch was rattling softly like someone testing it from the outside. I stood up, heart racing, and called out, "Kemtai?" Silence. Then a whisper, so low I almost doubted it. "You shouldn't have locked it." I ran inside, locked the doors, and woke my uncle. He grabbed a flashlight and we went out together, but by the time we reached the gate, no one was there. Just footprints in the mud, barefoot, long, uneven. We reported it to a local security guard the next morning. He said that, weeks before, a man had been seen wandering the nearby properties at night, asking to come in and rest. Some neighbors thought he was homeless, others said he was dangerous, but no one had seen him since Christmas. When we checked the security cameras, the footage was corrupted, just static after 11:20 p.m. The technician later said it was probably humidity. None of us really believed that. It's been 5 years. My aunt sold the house not long after. A few weeks ago, I drove past that same dirt road on my way to a wedding. The property was abandoned now, overgrown and silent. But as I slowed near the gate, I noticed something hanging there, a strip of torn fabric, sun-bleached and old. It was tied in the same spot where I'd seen his hand gripping the bars that night.